Ladies and gents, welcome to the home of Celtic, Celtic Park. Yes, ladies and gents, today we are exploring one of the giants of Scottish football, from their early history through the struggles and of course the never-ending success. I'm talking obviously about the Celtic Football Club, but let's start this story all the way back in the 1880s with an Irishman inspired by the creation of Hibernian a few years earlier in Edinburgh. Respectful because here is such a significant place to start our journey with the history of Celtic Football Club. Now this guy over here, this is a portrait of Brother Walfrid. Hopefully I've pronounced that correctly. This is really significant because he is the man behind the creation of Celtic. Now it was back in 1887, this man, an Irishman, would create the club with morally really good reasons to do so. Obviously the motivation to create a football club normally lies with just looking for, or a cricket team looking for a sport to play in the winter months. But this guy, Brother Walfrid, created the club to help feed struggling, poor Irish families in the Glasgow East End area. Now we're currently in an area I believe called Cowton. Again, hopefully I've pronounced that correctly. And I'm currently inside St Mary's Catholic Church. Now there isn't anybody here praying or anything, so hopefully I've not been too disrespectful. Nobody's here, but I really wanted to show you what's recognised as being the birthplace of the football club. There is a plaque on the outside, and I'm going to talk more about that plaque in a moment because it really is quite significant for other reasons. But again, Celtic themselves on their website did say that although this is recognised as the birthplace of the club, apparently the official meeting took place in a nearby hall which was related to St Mary's Church. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, ladies and gents. Apparently it was in that hall that the club was officially founded, but that hall no longer exists. Obviously the actual main church is only over there and the hall would have been maybe over here somewhere. Can't get exact confirmation, but this street currently known as Forbes Street back in the day was known as East Rose Street, and the hall apparently was on this corner joining on with Orr Street, O-R-R Street. So judging from the look of this really old building over here and the fact that there's new housing here, you would guess that this is maybe where technically the official founding of the football club was. Now again, they're a little bit newer than their arch rivals Rangers, but ironically, although they were founded in 1887, it was in 1888 they played their first game against who? Of course, Rangers. The rivalry hadn't begun at that point, it was a little bit more friendly, but Celtic would beat Rangers 5-2 in that first meeting. So let's leave this church and let's head out to the outside and that plaque. And this, ladies and gents, is the plaque which obviously confirms birthplace of Celtic Football Club. Now this football square mile, this is like regarded as the world's biggest open air museum. There's going to be loads of sites like this around Glasgow, and we do have the pleasure tomorrow of making a video all about the history of football here in Scotland, and a lot of people do believe that some of that early history was created right here in Glasgow. So again, make sure you are subscribed for that video. That's really taken me aback actually, that painting. Obviously I've just looked back on a picture I took of that painting, and obviously brother Walfred was kind of surrounded by poverty. So it's a really unique thing that one of the world's biggest football clubs was created with earning money in mind from football to help feed those struggling families. Really, really humble beginnings, and it's maybe like Celtic even more. Again, obviously I'm staying a bit neutral because we've got to explore the rivals as well. But let's leave the birthplace and let's head to another plaque which represents the original Celtic Park before they moved slightly further away. Let's go and check it out. I mean, whilst I'm here with a traffic cone, it would be an incredibly Scottish thing to put this on a statue, but how disrespectful would that be if I put it on one outside the church? Maybe we take this traffic cone with us and we'll try and find somewhere. I hope you're enjoying the video. Obviously traveling Europe and exploring football clubs is expensive, so you can support the channel by checking out today's sponsor. Now we will crack on with the video in a moment, but we have the pleasure of a sponsorship. Oh yes, Oxford Natural have sponsored Rise Football Paradise, but I'm here to tell you why both Optimum Day and Optimum Night might well work for you. Now I'm not going to give you any broken promises. You know I like to keep things transparent and honest on the channel, but both of these products, especially in the football community, have really started to get people noticing. You've got Optimum Day, which helps with everyday energy, keeping down the cravings and keeping you on track. Trust me, when you're traveling across the country, sometimes overseas, walking miles around football grounds and editing late into the night, you need that extra bit of fuel. Then you've got Optimum Night, which is all about the recovery, getting a proper night's sleep and letting your body reset so that you're ready for the next match day journey. It's simple, nothing crazy, but people are clearly getting results with it. When you start seeing names that we all know across the game, like Michael Owen, an England legend who's 35 pounds down, then you've got Robbie, the Don from AFTV, he's lost over 80 pounds. But then there's people outside the football niche. You've got an immigration worker called Anita, she's over 44 pounds down. There's Linda, a business executive, more than 50 pounds down. You've really got to start taking notice. So I've been hearing about this product more and more from the lads in the industry. It's my time to give it a go. Maybe you should do too, because as I said, football fans aren't necessarily the healthiest, but as we get older, we have to start taking care of ourselves, don't we? So follow the QR code on screen, follow the link in the description below, and make sure you use the code RYFP for a whopping 70% off your first order. Thanks again to Oxford Natural for sponsoring today's video. All right then guys, of course the stadium is there, and fittingly on London Road we've got an Irish bar. It's not open, it's only 9:30 AM. And apparently there is a brick wall somewhere nearby with that plaque marking the old ground. I'm really bad with directions, but I will track it down. Irish bar, the 1888 bar, I guess reference to that first ever game. Yeah, never trust ChatGPT. Luckily, I've got the Glasgow Football Tours helping me out. Apparently, it's on the other side. Every time I see a bookies since I've been here, it reminds me of one of my favourite comedies of all time, Still Game. If you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. One of the best comedies, old school comedies. I think we've got it, guys. I think I've located the plaque. For some reason, I was expecting it to be not quite as close to the current Celtic Park. Right guys, I'm going to read out what the plaque says. This plaque marks the site of the original Celtic Park from 1888 to 1892, which stood adjacent to the graveyard wall on its eastern boundary. The ground was opened on the 8th of May 1888 when Hibernian drew 0-0 with Cowlayers, and on the 28th of May it hosted Celtic's first game, we've mentioned it already, a 5-2 win against Bloody Rangers, with Neil McCallum scoring the first ever Celtic goal. At this ground in the season of 1891-92, Celtic
clinched our first ever treble. It also hosted Celtic Park's first ever international match between Scotland and Ireland on the 28th of March 1891. In total, 18 friendlies were played against the cream of English football. That sounded weird, with Celtic on the losing side only once. The final match was played on the 16th of July 1892 between Celtic and Clyde in a fundraiser for the Evicted Tenants Fund in Ireland. Again, charitable causes. And ironically, after Celtic were forced to relocate when the landlord of Celtic Park raised the rent per annum from £50 to £450. That sounds familiar if you know the history of Everton at Anfield. That's kind of what happened there. In 4 seasons at the original ground, Celtic only lost one competitive match before moving to the current Celtic Park in August of 1892. In the same week that brother Walfred was transferred to London, the phrase "from graveyard to paradise" was coined, and the new ground had a nickname which has lived up to ever since. The rest, as they say, is history. So we've not referenced that. Of course, this channel is called Rise Football Paradise, and since the move, this stadium has of course been known to Celtic fans as Paradise. And it was, again, only a stone's throw away from the original grounds, so still very much based here throughout their history. As we said, 1887 officially founded, but again, first competitive game on the site of the old ground in 1888, hence the name of that bar over there. Only losing one competitive game. Christ, we know this place is a fortress, but the original Celtic Park was equally, maybe even more so, a bloody fortress. Guys, you can see behind me the Jock Stein entrance, and obviously over here we've got the Jock Stein stand. Without doubt, Celtic's greatest ever manager. Under Stein in the late 60s, early 70s, Celtic would win 9 league titles in a row, and of course that incredible European Cup in 1967. So it's great that he's got his own stand.
Winning this European Cup is something they set out to do, not only to make ourselves the best team in Scotland, not only to make ourselves the best team in Britain, but to make ourselves the #1 team in Europe, which we've achieved today, and naturally we're all delighted by it.
And like many football clubs we visited, we've done lots of stadium tours on the channel. I love the fact that you've got all the history around the outside of the ground. You can hear the alarm. Apparently a Rangers fan has got inside Celtic Park. So it's fitting that the Jock Stein stand has the 60s on that stand. Again, I've gone the wrong way around, but you can see actually we mentioned 9 consecutive titles, but you've got 66 to 67 and then a year where they didn't win it, but then back again in 68 to 69. So very close to 10 or even 11 consecutive titles. Of course, they've dominated very much in recent history in the Scottish Premiership, but back then it was a little bit more competitive, and Jock Stein definitely turned the fortunes of the club around and helped them become the European, the global giant they are today. And there's always that debate, isn't there? Oh, if Rangers and Celtic were in the Premier League, how would they get on? And people say, oh, they would be battling relegation. Well, maybe that might happen initially, but with that Premier League money, with the size of these clubs, the size of these stadiums, the fan bases, give it a few years and they would without doubt be competing at the top. That's my opinion. As I said in both the Rangers video and the Stadium Tours video, I'm very much a neutral when it comes to the old firm. For now anyway, maybe that will change when we get back up to Scotland for some games this season. But you can't help but admire the impact Scotland has had on the modern game.
The tracksuit top of the trendiest 75-year-old in football, Martin O'Neill.
Yes, Manus, Martin O'Neill's tracksuit has had a huge impact in the fashion industry. Did you know that Celtic actually had vertical green and white striped shirts up until 1904 when they switched to their famous hoops? We also mentioned Celtic have the claim of being the first British club to win the European Cup, known now of course as the Champions League. Last season Celtic edged Rangers by winning the most Scottish League titles, currently 56, but of course many of you Celtic fans have already been playing up in the comment section on those Rangers videos, reminding everyone
that the Rangers reset happened in 2012. Of course, Rangers went into liquidation, so many people regard them as zombies. So maybe that debate with league titles in some people's minds isn't exactly true. Again, I'm a neutral. Celtic Park, of course, has a capacity of around 60,411, making it the biggest football stadium in Scotland, bigger than Ibrox, of course. So, with the biggest ground and the most league titles, ladies and gents, is it safe to say that Celtic are bigger than Rangers? Are Celtic the biggest club in Scotland? Get involved in the comment section below, have that debate. I appreciate you guys supporting the channel. Obviously this weekend we'll be back in Germany, 3 incredible games along with some other videos, football shirt hunting and so much more. And the week after, of course, the EFL resumes and we'll be back to the Riders, the 92 series, ticking off each of the 92 football clubs and stadiums. And then we've got more European trips and, as I said, potentially back to Scotland this season. So loads going on. Hit that subscribe button and I'll see you in the next one.